Hey, what's up guys? Let's talk about how to sharpen up our footage. So there are about 4 factors that affect the sharpness of our image: lighting, lens choice, camera settings, and editing. First off, let's talk about how lighting affects the sharpness of our image. Basically, the more light, the better. And if you're shooting with the amateur or semi-professional camera, adding more light will really help out your camera's image sensor and allow you to shoot at lower ISOs. For instance, in a low light situation, you're gonna have to choose slower shutter speeds and a higher ISO. Now that may be good for what you're doing, but the more light we have, the more options we have to choose from our camera settings. And there may be some instances where you want to have a more dramatic scene. Like right now, I'm actually flooding light in. If I were to turn one of these off, we now instantly have a more dramatic scene. So let's say you have an average camera like a Canon 70D. It's a great camera. We're using it right here and it does a pretty good job. Just not as good as those higher end, more expensive cameras that do a great job at low lighting situations. Now, we don't do a great job at low lighting situations. It's basically because our image sensor isn't that great. So at higher ISOs, we start to bring in some noise and some fuzziness into our images. So we want to stay away from those higher ISOs. The way we do that is we bring in more light into our scenes. That's how adding more light can affect and do a better job at getting us a better image quality. Now, lenses aren't the first thing that people think of when they think of picture quality, but lenses do have a dramatic effect on how sharp an image that the camera produces. Actually, just think of your eyes, for example. You can only see as good as your eyes will let you see. And for cameras, lenses are that eye. A lower quality lens is like seeing with lower quality vision, and a higher quality lens is like seeing with 20/20 vision or better. Lenses have different ratings and different qualities, so your lens choice will affect your image sharpness. Generally speaking, the more expensive the glass, the sharper your image will be. For instance, professional glass will almost always outperform inexpensive, cheaper glass. Always. And there's many reasons for this, but one in particular, aperture. This allows more light into the camera sensor and allows for a shallower depth of field. Aperture not only affects the light, but it also affects the depth of field, basically the amount of things that are in focus. Now, if we can have our aperture at 1.8, that allows us to have a faster shutter speed and also a lower ISO. A lower f-stop helps give the appearance of the subject is much sharper in comparison to the background. That's why my face looks much sharper. Which brings us back to our camera settings. Generally speaking, the lowest ISO setting you can go to at the proper exposure will yield a sharper image. So after we decided what aperture we want to go with and our shutter speed being at least double our frame rate, now we can select our ISO. And if we can get our ISO down to 400, 200, 100, we should get a sharper image. So just keep that in mind, and a quicker shutter speed can also affect how sharp our image is as well, especially in photography. It helps eliminate camera shake and also captures motion a lot better. Now you can also do things like change your camera's picture profile, change the sharpness and the contrast and saturation, but I personally prefer to shoot at neutral and standard profile. Lastly, we can produce a sharper image by editing and using whatever software that you prefer to use and just bumping up that sharpness just a little bit. I would recommend programs like After Effects or Premiere Pro to do this type of editing. I don't necessarily prefer to use programs like Final Cut, but you can do it in Final Cut as well. And that's how I do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This question actually comes from Joel O, so thanks for the question. And he also asked a question about color correction, which we'll probably discuss at a later time. In the meantime, just keep filming and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.